Hello, good morning, and welcome to the garden. Welcome to Garden Conversations with Rose. It's May the 3rd. Today, in the garden, we are celebrating our 3 year and 9 month mark. Come August the 3rd, we will be celebrating 4 whole years of being with you. 4 whole years where we've always told you how important it is for your emotional wellness, your mental well being, and your peace of mind to be in a good place. And of course, in the month of May, all over the world, we are focusing on mental health awareness. In the garden, our focus is on the bloody thing. The bloody thing that envelopes the lives of women, often at a very early age, as young as 9. The bloody thing that sometimes brings about anxiety, pain, even lets us become flustered, affects how we go through with our jobs, even for the girls in school. Very often, the girls who were never told about menstruation are rather terrified when it comes around. I have heard stories about mature women who were never told anything about the menstrual cycles, and so when it came around, they simply didn't know what to do. I myself, although I was taught reproductive health in school and knew at some point that the menstrual cycle would come my way, I think I was not told much more about it by my mom. And I'm not blaming her here or anything like that, because as a woman in her 90s, maybe for her generation, it was a very taboo thing to do. So I recount when I first had my encounter with the bloody thing. She remarked, "We've got to watch that." I don't know what she meant by that. We've got to watch that. I suppose she meant we've got to pay attention. And so she was really attentive and proceeded to give me the napkin that I needed. And I guarantee you, it wasn't the nice napkins that we use these days. I started my menstrual cycle at the age of 12. And back then, I think maybe because that's what she had at the time, I was given the cloth napkin, the cloth ones that we older women know of, that was made especially. And I tell you, as I look back now, I know that I was a little anxious about whether there would be any leakage or seepage, whether it would stay in place. It was just a new thing for me. Shortly thereafter, thankfully, I got the sanitary napkins, but those sanitary napkins back in the day was something else. It was not the adhesive types that I use these days. I remember that one being a very long one with an additional and extra bit of material at the back and even at the front. And so when I used it, I thought often about if there were a bulge in my clothes when I went to school. As a matter of fact, I recount a very embarrassing situation where one day, for whatever reason, there was some leakage at the back of my skirt, and I was terrified. I asked quickly to go home. Thankfully, I took the shortcut through the riverside in the bushes, to get home quickly, deal with my situation, and get back to school. I recount also seeing one day one of my classmates. Maybe she wasn't quite prepared because she didn't know it was on its way. And so when her skirt became bloody, she sat on the chair for a long time, maybe terrified, didn't want to move. I think eventually we were able to assist her and get her the napkin. But I tell you, that it was really an anxiety laden time. So there is a measure of anxiety that comes with menstruation, the bloody thing. We need to think a little bit more about that. So let's think about our little girls, maybe even as young as 9, who start the menstrual cycles. My own daughter, hers began at the age of 11, and I remember her asking me, Mommy, how long will I have to deal with that? I felt for her, and I had to tell her for a while. She too has had issues with the bloody thing, and often I feel so sorry for her that I can't do anything to help her. So the bloody thing is something else. It takes a toll on one's mental wellness and emotional wellness. It certainly affects our mental health. So today, let's talk about the little girl in primary school. She is 9 or 10 or perhaps 11. She may be the first one in a class that is going through. Does she know how to count the days for the next cycle? How does she feel being around her other girl mates in her class? How does she feel being around the boys in her class? Is she scared when she needs to use the bathroom? Is she feeling confident and comfortable to ask the teacher and say what's happening? Does she have the sanitary napkins that are needed? Is she having any other issues physically with the menstrual cycle? The bloody thing is something else, and it takes a toll on our emotional well-being and our mental health and affects other areas of our lives today. So if you know a little girl in primary school who is having a cycle, I need you to think about, for those of us teachers especially, and even mothers, think about how it may be affecting her mental health and pay attention. It's all about mental wellness in the garden in the month of May and the bloody thing.